Hey, what's going on out there, YouTube? This is SCL0320 back at it again for a brand new movie review. I know I don't have my partner in crime, Joe Johnson, or if you go follow his YouTube, Joe Johnson030. But tonight we actually both watched the movie The Giver. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go into the segue about the whole spoiler-free review. And then I'm going to go and follow it up with a non-spoiler review. So any of y'all that don't want to get spoiled by the movie, y'all get my fresh perspective on it. But off the gate, I really actually enjoyed the movie. Believe it or not, I had talked to one of my friends and fellow reviewers, and some of them were really skeptical. Some of them were like, well, it feels really convoluted. Some people said it equates more so towards the teen demographic as opposed to just a whole. I remember reading the book in high school as an American, and I don't remember the story as well as I should. And I was into it, and I was like, I had low expectations going into the movie off the gate. I was thinking acting was going to be poor. I was feeling like the story and the plot were going to be all over the place, you know, and that was something that wasn't going to resonate with me. But it was quite the opposite, quite honestly. From the first scene, just in general, when you really first meet the receiver and you first meet the giver and you meet the world of this book turned to movie, it feels very fresh and authentic. I mean, at first I kind of was thinking like the movie Pleasantville. I was feeling like it was kind of that kind of feel of it. I was thinking they're trying to like mimic off of Sin City because I hadn't gone back through the book in my head. But as the movie progressed, I was like, this is actually pretty good. It's actually well acted. It's actually clear and to the point, but it leaves a lot for the imagination. So I guess I'll go ahead and start on the biggest spoiler, is the fact that the receiver, played by the actor Brenton Toits, he plays the character Jonas, who's the receiver. Jeff Bridges, he plays the giver. And then you have, I didn't know, all these different major actors. Meryl Streep plays in it, and I didn't know she was in it. Alexander Skarsgård, who plays in True Blood, was in it. Katie Holmes was in it, and I was like, whoa, I didn't expect these actors to be in it. I guess I hadn't done as much background check as I was supposed to, but they fed off of each other so well, especially the relationship between Jeff Bridges and Meryl Streep. You could tell there was dissension there, but you could also tell there was history there. When you first start seeing Jonas and just his character in general, you're like, this dude's spaced out, he's whacked out. But you notice that he sees the perception of everything totally different than everybody else. He's got the kind of normal relationship, and at first you're thinking it's gonna focus really just on the relationship between the character Jonas and then his girlfriend, who plays who was it? No, not Rosemary, but Fiora, and then the other character named Asher. And you're thinking it's gonna be all about them and like kind of this realm of like, if any of y'all seen Starship Troopers, where it kind of goes off of like Rico and then Xander and then Diz, and they go back and forth, all these kind of triangle stuff like that. It really isn't focused on that. It really is, to its core, is showing you a world that has completely closed itself off of reality, in the sense of keeping everybody level-headed, no perception of color, no perception of sight, of reasoning, of emotion. Even though they are allowed to laugh, even though they're allowed to think to a degree, they're really just programmed, and every day they actually have to have certain injections. The movie Equilibrium comes to mind when you really think about it, but this is so much deeper, because in Equilibrium they at least had a cipher of like, okay, this is the law. These people have no coherent thought process of what is really taking place, and there are people out there that know that what's happening is wrong, you know. And so you have now the giver, that you see him when you first see the giver, and they're going through, I think, Jonas's graduation, and they're trying to pick like what these people are going to be, you know, like what are they primed to be. And like I said, equating back to Equilibrium, maybe Equilibrium pulled from the Giver book, but you get to finally with Jonas, and you notice that like he's not fitting the mold, and they're making him something bigger, you know. And you could tell Jeff Bridges' character is looking at him, and you're like, man, what is up with this guy, you know. But as soon as Jeff Bridges' character starts communicating with Jonas, you can instantly feel there's real chemistry behind them. Now with the trailers, I did notice that, but it was so flaked off with everything because I was like, I don't have time to read the book. I don't remember any of it. So I was like thinking it was just going to kind of phase off towards the end. No, the relationship between Jeff Bridges, the giver, and him, it made me think at points, I was like, are these the same person? Because there are certain points where you can feel like their dissension is going on within the hearts of the people that don't know what Jonas and the giver know. It's like whenever Jonas, for instance, he goes and tries to interact with somebody else and let them know, like, this training that I'm going through is so many different things and I can't tell you, because what they tell, one of the major laws is they cannot lie, which is so interesting because the givers can and the receivers can. And so it's like everybody else is like, they're not used to seeing lies, not used to seeing people like have like ideals. And I mean, at a certain point, Jonas gets to a point that he pulls so much from the giver, because what happens is there's a communicational bridge that happens between the palms and the hand, and it's weird because you see a mark on Jeff Bridges' arm, you see a mark on Jonas's arm, and then there's a little baby named Gabriel that has the same exact mark. And I'm thinking, is this the same person? It's like I couldn't remember from the book, you know? But I knew that when they started doing the transferring, I remember that there were certain things that happened with other people. And because Jonas is brought to life with the fact of knowing colors and seeing dances, and I think the first scene that I saw was him actually going on a sled in the snow, and it's just he didn't know how to equate to it. He didn't understand what this was, what was the names, and Jeffrey was like, you know the name? You're getting fused with all the knowledge of what's happened in the past. Now, what surprised me about it is that when it came to his relationship with his friend, the girl, I thought that was really well done, because it wasn't all the time lovey-dovey. Like, if it's more of a teen demographic, they'd be kissing, they'd be making out, they'd be having all these different kind of effects, stuff like that. Like, the things and the emotions that Jonas is feeling, nobody has ever felt. And that is the big picture of it. Like, if you take it as just the value of looking at it like a romantic kind of thing, it's not even about that. It's more so along the lines of this guy is being filled up with all this hate and anger and joy all at the same time. What is the byproduct of that? Which is a human soul, you know? And Jeff Bridges, he's been keeping all this in for years. And you find out that later on that he has other pupil that was a receiver, and what happens is they supposedly get sent off to elsewhere, and elsewhere is technically nowhere. It's being released, which is being gone, which is being eradicated. There was one scene that bothered me so bad, and it was a little baby, and the little baby was being prepped and primed because they were trying to balance and see if like they could really fit or match and stuff like that. And if so, then the one that fit, they get moved on and carried to somebody else, because all these humans are being like grown, I guess, through stem cell research or whatever. They're not actually being born or birthed, because nobody's having sex or anything like that. And so there's one baby, and there's one scene, and it was actually Jonas's dad, and he had no realization, because it was one of I forgot how it happened, but I think Jeff Bridges went and showed him, like, look, this is the reality of how lost everybody truly is. And I think to the depth of this movie that people don't realize what the true potential of real emotion, real life, as opposed to being safe all the time. Is like, at a certain bland point, you don't realize what you're even doing, because the expression of love, the expression of fear, the value of color, like, you take everything for granted because you're just playing for one set rule. And so his dad was sitting there working with this little baby, and all of a sudden you take him, see a needle, put the needle to the baby's head, and I was thinking, okay, you gonna give him a shot? No, he's like, I gotta reach a vein. I was like, he is not. And the baby just dies. I was like, this is a PG-13 movie. What is going on? I mean, there were some seriously thought-provoking and suspenseful moments. Even towards the latter part of it, like when you see Jonas, he's being overburdened with all these different ideals and stuff like that. He wants to express it to everybody, and that was one of the rules the giver said, you cannot tell anybody. And but the funny thing about this is that because he had all this put on him, it didn't take people to hear exactly everything. They could just tell there was a difference on him. There's a presence about him that was so special that it needed to be talked about. You know, it needed to be kind of discovered, and even it caused dissension within his friends. Like his friend Asher was like feeling jealousy because he knew that there was something that Jonas was getting that he couldn't get. His friend, I keep on forgetting her name, Fiaya. I can't remember now. Fiora. I think it's right. What was it? Fiona. I'm sorry. Fiona, when she sees Jonas, you can tell that she is looking through her eyes and sees something awesome, but she doesn't know how to express it. And at a certain point when Jonas, he actually sees like a clip of what kissing is and dancing is, and he just starts to feel love in his heart for this girl. And so he goes to her, he kisses her, and she doesn't know what to do with it. It's just all these kind of overcoming emotions that are hitting. And it's just so many subtle, epic moments that were expressed through eye capture and screen capture, and even the subtle notions of the cinematography when it came to like the real world and war and stuff like that, like how that really has an effect. Because there was one point where the giver and Jeff Bridges' character, who does such an amazing job, like he does an amazing job. I've never seen like him kind of emote in this way, but when he gets I think he has a dream or something like that, he accidentally contacts Jonas because he was waking up from a nightmare, and Jonas was transferred the death and heaviness of war. Jonas is overcome with an emotion that he cannot handle it, and he wants to talk about it. He wants to let it out. He's like, look, I don't want any more of it. You know what I'm saying? And that brings me back to even X-Men Days of Future Past, when the younger Professor Xavier sees everything that kind of happened through, I guess, the cycling of the minds or whatnot. He's like, I don't want your future. I don't want your pain, you know? And it brought me down to that level of like feeling that way. And there was a heaviness that I felt just from that transference. But when it went all down the line, there was this one scene towards the end of the movie, and I'm not going to spoil the whole entire movie. I'm trying not to. But is Jeff Bridges' character and one of the main characters, their life is being threatened because of what Jonas does. Jonas finds a way that there might be a possibility of getting everybody to the realization of this world, you know, and he's doing everything he can with Gabriel to try to get to that point. And one of the main characters, they're about to die basically, and Jeff Bridges talks to Meryl Streep's character, and he's trying to equate her like, look, you don't even understand what love is. You're about to take a life. He's like, my daughter, I loved her. I understood what the meaning of this life is just from all these things. I know it's heavy. I know it's dark. I know, like, we've gone through war. I know we've gone through pains and stuff like that. But this right here, there's a value in this, and you're not even grasping it because you're closing yourself off. And Meryl Streep was like, you don't understand, and all this kind of stuff. And what the funny part about this is, it's such a well-acted scene, is the mystery behind the movie. There's a mystery, there's an undercurrent on this whole movie that you don't get. And I hope and I pray that they continue the movie in sequels, because I think that there's more than just one book, The Giver, if I'm not mistaken. But the fact is, there are certain scenes where you're trying to figure out, okay, why was there a giver and a receiver? What was the purpose behind a receiver and a giver? If you don't want the world to know about it, what is the purpose behind it? When you have the receiver and he becomes a giver at a certain point, like, what is his purpose, you know? Because you find out in Jonas at one point, there's a way of changing all of this. And why was there a contingency plan made up just to show everybody everything all over again, if this is such a peaceful and perfect world, you know? There's even one scene where, this last scene, where you see Jonas, he looks and he sees a person he's never seen before, you know? And it catches his eye. And in the real world, when he actually goes and get to that point, he actually sees like the snow and the sled, and he looks at the same exact location, and you're like, what does this mean? There's so many thought-provoking things that a book exemplifies on. They go in detail, and they drain it out so well that they can make movies off of it. They literally just telling what is really happening, what really took place in the past. Why was the giver actually created? Why is it that each one of the giver and receiver actually have a mark on them? Why was the genetic code of them changed in such a way that this process was needed? You know, even the fact of having Jonas take all the pain. What was supposed to happen, he's supposed to take all the pain and be able to give it, all the pain, all the bad stuff, to the elders, so that the elders can know contingency plans, versus talking to them about the goodness and the love and stuff like that. And I guess the thing that resonates with me is that Jeff Bridges' character has been doing this for years, and he hasn't been able to really express to them the real stuff until Jonas, this one guy, this young guy, shows him more light again, you know, and he sticks up for Jonas, and he sticks up for what all this was meaning, all what this all boiled down to. And so it's so much mystery and wonder in it. There's some people I know for a fact, and certain reviewers, they're not gonna like this movie because there's so many questions, so many details. But if they do it right, if y'all go and see the movie and give us its due, which in my opinion is a good movie, then they will make a sequel. They will tell more details of it. I pray they do, you know. They will revisit these characters, because the way it ends is left open for that. And I hope so. I hope so. I hope it doesn't get too many bad reviews that they won't continue the story. Like, I mean, this has potential to me to transcend the book series, if there is a series, if there's not just one movie. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I loved the questions. I loved the mystery and the wonder. And there were points where I was like thinking, like, you know, when I have to think, that's when I love something. That's when I get attached to it, you know what I'm saying? And that to me is great cinematography, and that to me is great storytelling. And if it's anywhere close to what the old book is, and I'm gonna go and reread the book, and I might do another review for this, but if it's anywhere close to the actual book, how it's supposed to be, then Philip Noyce, who directed this, did an amazing bang-up job. I know for a fact that cinematography is great, the score was great, the acting was great. The first half, it was kind of blanded out, but towards the end, it just resonated with me, you know, and I really enjoyed it. It was a surprise hit for me. If I give it a grade, I'll definitely give it a B+. I really enjoyed this movie. So please go check it out. Hopefully you love the spoiler review. Please like it. If you like, leave a comment on your thought process about it. Please leave your comments below. Maybe we can have a full open discussion about it. Who knows? I'm gonna try to read the book either way. But stay tuned. I'm about to do a non-spoiler review for any of y'all that have not seen the movie. You probably are not gonna be looking at this right now, so I'm about to go ahead and do the non-spoiler review right now. This is SCL0320 signing out. Y'all have a blessed night. Have a great evening. Have a great day. Deuces.